Yeah. So this is where sort of like you want to not look at it from a good versus evil point of view, because there are these beings that keep us at a low frequency, they feed off your negative energy. That's the energy that they need to survive. So think of it as how we as humans, we need to eat so that we have energy. It's the same idea, but they are not physical beings, so they don't need physical energy to survive. They need a different type of it. So it's within their best interest to keep you at this lower frequency, because that's how they feed. And it's like how we put, for example, animals inside, like cows, for example, in farms, and we've domesticated certain animals so that we feed off them. They sort of domesticated us so that they feed off us, but it's happening on an energetic level and not on a physical level.
What if I told you that everything you know is just the beginning? Beyond the veil of the ordinary lies a realm of hidden knowledge, ancient wisdom, and untapped potential. A place where consciousness expands, reality bends, and the impossible becomes possible. You weren't meant to stay asleep. You were meant to awaken. Open your mind, remember who you truly are, and step with me beyond the frequency 369. All right, folks, welcome back to Beyond the Frequency 369. I'm your host, Cesar Pagan. And folks, I have a returning champion. I've had Sergio on here 3 times now. So this will be his 4th visit here to the show. The first one, let me see, I wrote this down here. The first episode that I had him on was back in November of 2024. And we talked about uncovering ancient mysteries, the Anunnaki, Egypt's secrets, and hidden knowledge. So I'll have that right up here. You guys can check that out when you're done with this episode. Then the second time that he came back around was around December 2024. And we talked about unveiling the hidden truths about Jesus's missing years, the Anunnaki influence, and sacred symbols. And then on the last time that he came back in February of 2025, we talked about the hollow earth theory. Okay. So today we will be talking about the earth prison theory, and also talking about the constant low frequency vibrations that's been happening so far these last few months regarding the wars and pandemics and things of that nature. So Sergio, welcome to the show. How are you, buddy?
Very good. Thank you for having you back. And thank you for the 4th time as well. This is pretty cool. So yeah, it's good to be back here.
Awesome. It's good to have you, Sergio. I always love talking to you. And folks, if you haven't seen the previous episodes with Sergio, you guys probably don't know where he's located right now. So Sergio, where are you located? And talk to us just in general about what's going on in your area.
Yeah, well, I'm located in the Middle East, actually, and specifically in Bahrain. And as you probably know, following the news and everything, I mean, the situation here is pretty bad. Things have been, unstable for about a month now, maybe around the start of March. And as always, we try to, keep going, try to do what we do all the time. And I feel like in the face of adversity, we try to fight it more, not just survive it, but also kind of make sure to understand why this is happening, whether it was on a physical level or on a spiritual level, if you want. And that's mostly why I also wanted to come on the show today and talk about it, and talk about what it means and what sort of fight back we do, like, when we're sort of exposed to certain truths that aren't really talked about or are hidden from us. So we want to make sure that as much as we can, we talk about it from a spiritual point of view. We try to understand why is it that these things keep on happening, what's the meaning of it, how they use certain events that are keeping us in. We'll get into details more, but basically this very low frequency that the Earth has been on for quite some time now. It's not just this one. It's not just the pandemic. It's looking back at decades and decades and centuries of just like negative all the time. And that's basically like the more negativity I see around me, the more it pushes me to want to talk about it more and try to, make sure everyone understands what's happening on a very, very deep level.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, Sergio. And I'm excited to get into it, especially hearing it from your perspective. I consider you a friend as well. So I also care about, the things going on with you and your family in your area. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're safe. And, I can't speak for the entire country and everything, but not everybody's with this. We don't like this. We don't support this at all. So we're hoping that you're okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that. And obviously, we know that this is something that is played on a political level. But and most of us, like from all over the world, we just want to live our lives. We want to connect. We want to talk, express, just be happy most of the time. And that's when it's kind of like we this constant barrage of bad things happening is what we want to stop, what we want to fight against on every level, in every dimension. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what we have to keep doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Sergio, where would you like to start off at? Do you want to talk about the Earth prison theory, or you want to continue with what we're talking about now regarding the low vibrations and frequencies going on around the planet?
I mean, they go hand in hand, honestly. So this theory I came up across a couple of years ago, and it made a lot of sense to me because while we talk about things that, like you and me, we've spoken a lot about ancient civilizations and a lot of the truth that has been kept or altered or um, changed in one way or another. And we've talked about the hollow earth and, all the different beings that exist on earth throughout history. But we also need to kind of understand that there are things that happen on a multidimensional level, and there are things that are outside of what we know as to be our own reality. And it's good to understand where we stand in all this, and like this kind of this constant battle that is happening in several layers of reality and several layers of dimensions. And we are, obviously stuck in a third dimensional reality, and we can only experience one present moment at a time. Like, we cannot see, the entirety of time and of other things. So what we need to try to remember basically is information that we know on some level of us. It's buried deep within us, and the constant talking about this helps bring this forth to the light, and helps us understand where we are and how we can kind of fight against this constant darkness as it is. And obviously, and most of the listeners know as well about like the different vibrational frequencies that all of reality is always on, this energy that keeps happening. And you know how people talk about, like, if we try to stay in a state of bliss and love and acceptance, that these are like high frequencies, and lower frequencies tend to be more like fear and hate and anger and everything that sort of disconnects you from the source of creation. And this is where it kind of like where we are stuck in the middle, like as earth in general, or as a reality that we are in. This goes back to like this, it's a theory, it's a something that has happened on earth, and what is the purpose of earth and how it kind of changed. Because earth was created a sort of like it's like a cosmic library, if you want. It was a state of existence where life can grow on it in a very unique way, and beings that are on earth and from earth, they sort of connect with the universe differently than other beings. So when we talk about like Pleiadians, for example, or Anunnaki, or the Draconians, or all the different types of beings that exist throughout all of the universe in different realities, each one is unique in its own way. And Earth is also unique, and us humans are also unique in that way. And the purpose of Earth is very different from what it is now. So there was a sort of like they're called master builders, okay, like, or god builders. And these are the higher frequency beings that exists in several realities, and they can create life differently than what we can do. And what happened is the Earth was supposed to thrive in an environment of communication between different galaxies and different, like where we are now in our own galaxy, and where our galaxy is located is like a highway of energy that flows through it, and that gives it a sort of an edge, which, just like anything else we see on Earth, is when something is geographically located in a good way, it sort of like it gets the attention of very different entities, whether they want to do good or they want to do bad. And sadly, what happened is that it attracted the bad sort of entities that I'll explain more about them and how is it that they are and what do they feed on and all that. But this is how, sort of like around 300,000 years ago, that's when everything shifted in our Earth. And that's the arrival of these ancient astronauts that we talked about before, which were the Anunnaki. So that was the start of the battle that happened for Earth and who's going to take over Earth, basically. And when that happened, it's sort of the Anunnaki won, and that's how they took over our planet and took over the reality, and they started changing things in a way that it was not supposed to happen. So they sort of like manipulated life on Earth and how it is. And from that came several different entities to Earth to sort of like, kind of work through this and try to make sure that are we freeing the planet or not? Is it going to be under this control or not? And you have this sort of beings that were sent across history, and they kind of stood out when we talk about, the masters such as like the Buddha or Jesus or anyone who tried to come and remind humanity that there is a lot more to our power and to our reality than we actually are taught. So there is this sort of censorship over Earth, if you want, on a frequency level. And because we've been kept on a specific frequency, we are not able to communicate or to get out of, like, think of it as a quarantine, and Earth is in a quarantine, and we're not able to communicate with beings or see beings that are outside of us. Sometimes when we, for example, like put our telescopes up and look at the stars and look at different planets, we can see them, but we are not able to detect life outside of it because that life is vibrating at a frequency that the Earth is not vibrating on. We're vibrating at a lower frequency, so it's sort of disconnecting us. It's kind of like when you have like a radio station and you're tuned to one frequency, you're not able to hear other frequencies. And that's the purpose of keeping Earth in this quarantine zone, because we are sort of like, they want us to be disconnected from life that is outside of us. So we just see things, we see celestial bodies, we see things, but we're not able to actually understand what sort of life is on them. And that's where this trap that we're in, sort of like the prison that we're in right now, where we are constantly being kept in this low frequency. You look around throughout our entire history, ever since civilization started, and everything is sort of like always in turmoil. There's always war somewhere. There's pandemic, a plague, oppression, hate, racism, everything that basically keeps you at the stage of constantly being a survival mode. Basically, you're afraid all the time. That's what they want you to stay on. And that's what keeps the Earth in that frequency, because most of us, that's what we are vibrating at. And we want to try to break through that so that we are able to change the frequency and change the way we receive information from the universe and how we can do that.
I mean, amazing. And Sergio, I'm going to ask, obviously, what people are probably thinking or wanting to ask you right now is, why do you think that is? Why are they keeping us in this low frequency?
Yeah, so this is where sort of like you want to not look at it from a good versus evil point of view, because there are these beings that keep us at a low frequency, they feed off your negative energy. That's the energy that they need to survive. So think of it as how we as humans, we need to eat so that we have energy. It's the same idea, but they are not physical beings, so they don't need physical energy to survive. They need a different type of it. So it's within their best interest to keep you at this lower frequency, because that's how they feed. And It's like how we put, for example, animals inside, like cows, for example, in farms, and we've domesticated certain animals so that we feed off them. They sort of domesticated us so that they feed off us, but it's happening on an energetic level and not on a physical level.
Okay. Okay.
That's where yeah,
Yeah. So it's like we're being harvested.
exactly. That's the correct word. We are being harvested.
So let me ask you this then. So there's all types of different creator beings, right? There's all types of creator beings, all kinds of different species. I get that part. Are you saying that there's a specific species or creator beings that are harvesting us? Not everybody is, but so who do you think these harvesters are, and why is it that they get to do this?
So, from all the readings I've done, and especially not just in terms of theories, also from people who have tried to connect to these beings or to connect to other beings, because as you said, there's a lot of different creatures and beings that exist, and a lot of them actually are good and want to help us. So when you get inspired to do something, or when you suddenly feel like there's an information that you're reaching, it's sort of like downloading into your mind and all that. So there are beings that actually want to help us and want to help humanity, but others do not want that. And most of them, as what you would refer to, or like the common known, are is either reptilian or lizard-like. So these are the ones that are sort of, that's their energy, and that's how they feed on it. And they align more with when you talk about like demons, for example, and how people talk in religion or in other aspects about like, being possessed or being like part of it. Everything we whenever we talk about like these beings in specific, it's always related to like an influence to do something that is bad, to hurt someone else, to kind of, like I said, be in fear, hate, be in anger all the time. And when you look at it from a religious point of view, and most religions, which I believe like each one hold a part of the truth if you want, but it's been politicized and changed over the years. But at the core of things, there is this like rejection of certain beings that kind of influence you and want you to do bad. So when you're kind of committing murder, it's been influenced, like in Christianity, it's like the devil, and in other religions that, from ancient times, they also have called them different names. So when you talk like demons or jinn or any of these certain names, but they all kind of revert and go back to the same storytelling, that they are, these beings exist in a shadow realm, because like things that we cannot see with our own physical eyes, but we can sense their presence. And they want us to do bad, like they want us to do something that is horrible in order for them to thrive. That is why they do these things, and why we are sort of like constantly, like there's this battle between, each one of us. When you're not kind of trying to do good, there's this, like when you say, I hear a voice in my head, or like there's something that pushed me to do something bad. And like this kind of, duality that you have, or more even like all the voices that you sometimes hear in your head. These are these different influences that you have, whether to do good or to do bad. And sadly, they're sort of winning right now, because the way to control any population or any sort of race as a whole, or human beings in general, is to disconnect them from the truth, that they know, that they don't know that they are in a prison. They don't know that they are in this constant, they need to like consume and obey and follow the rules, and don't think outside of what you've been taught, and don't use your mind to invent or to create. This constant suppression of human emotions, if you want, that are supposed to be there, that's the constant battle that exists in another realm, basically.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I resonate with that. And this is one of the reasons why I do this show, is to help people remember who they truly are before the world convince them otherwise. And what you're talking about regarding the fear factor and the chaos stuff, that's the world, right? That's the
Yeah.
world. That's who's ever controlling this situation. That's what they're feeding in there. But remembering who you are is so important, because when you remember that you are not of the body,
Yeah.
not of Earth, that you are a powerful, energetic being, just like these creator beings. You're just like them, no different, okay? As powerful. Then once you start to realize that, you then break away from this fear mindset and you start kind of seeing things a little bit differently.
Yep.
You start being the player in the game versus just the avatar.
Yeah, exactly. And to add to that is two thoughts that I had. You're familiar with the cave allegory from
I love that story.
like
Yes.
I heard it maybe when I was like 13 or 14, and just resonated with me so well, because it's like
Good.
such a good idea. And we're talking an idea that came out like what, 4,000, like 3,000 years ago, maybe, or something. And it's so interesting because, like, to me, it's on several layers, and it adds to what you said as well, why you do what you do, which is one that first, we're all like, for everyone who's not familiar, the story is that, people are living inside this cave and there's a light source behind them. But they are chained to the ground and they're always looking to the back of the cave, to the wall. So their entire reality is seeing the shadows that's coming from the flame that's behind them. But obviously that's not reality. That's just a reflection of reality. It's part of it. And sometimes one of them turns around and he sees the flame and he sees the light. And he's so taken by it that he actually turns around and he needs to tell everyone else, look with me towards the light. So it's like, it's impossible for you, when you gain certain knowledge, not to want to share it with someone else. That's the actual true power that we have, the transfer of information and of energy, because no one has ever felt like, okay, I have discovered the truth, or I'm on my path to truth, but I want to keep it for myself. Like, no, this is something that I'm going to be selfish with. The first thing you think of, I want to go tell someone else. I want to get on a platform. I want to write a book. I want to make a movie. I want to, anything that is, you feel that you have connected with a part of the truth that is real, that's a reality. You want to share it. And that's why you do what you do. And that's why I do what I do. Because you can't help yourself, basically. It's part of it. And another part of something else that you remind me when you're talking about, remembering how powerful we are, and that we are also creator gods, if you want, but we have been kept and suppressed at this frequency for thousands and hundreds of thousands of years, is also when you talk to a child, for example, and you ask them about what they think the truth is. If you talk to a child below the age of 7 or of 8, they have not been conforming to society yet. They haven't yet been told what to believe in. So they have their own version of the truth. And I guarantee you that every single time, no matter what the background of this child is, the age, gender, where they're from, what they think they believe in, if you ask them, what do you think? Where do you think we come from? Where do you think a creator is? What do you think happens to us after death? They all answer the same thing. It's sort of like, it's insane. I've tried it, and I've read about a lot of people who've tried it, and I've asked other people to ask their own kids and all that. And it's always, yeah, I see that we definitely existed somewhere before we came to Earth. And it was like a place that is all made of light. And it was a very nice and comforting place. And then we chose to come to Earth to live this. Every child said the same thing. Sadly, most children grow up and then they're told that what they're thinking is wrong, and no, don't believe that. This is what your religion should be, or this is what your belief should be. These are just imagination, forget. And then we kind of conform and forget all about it. And we go through life where forgetting all this until we get to adulthood and we start to kind of try to remember it again and all that. But this is a truth that is born within us. That's what always surprised me about this sort of information that a child has, as opposed to any form of religion, because no child will talk to you about religion on his own. No one will say, I feel there is this Messiah that is supposed to come and save us. No one says, I believe that, I feel like there's a book that was written and this is the message of God. No one says this stuff. It's always about this connection to a grand being, or that we were part of a place and now we came here. But every time we make them forget, and we infuse them with all this information, and it's wrong. And it's designed to make us afraid of other people as well. Like, that's the nature of it as a religious concept, is to say, we are correct, they are wrong. Go on with your life believing this. And that brings us, they separates us even more, as opposed to just believing that, yeah, we are all part of the one. We are very powerful. Each one of us has that power and has that, the ability to do wonderful things. You don't need an authority figure. You don't need a religious figure. You can do it on your own. But that's part of the suppression that we're being taught all the time.
Yeah. No, man. So many great points, Sergio. And yeah, this is also another reason why I don't subscribe to an organized religion, because organized religion, every religion, wants you to do things in love and worship whoever it is that they worship. But with the exception that if somebody else is not part of that religion,
Yep.
they're wrong,
Yep.
they're bad, they're going to a negative place.
Yep.
I don't recall a religion saying that these other people that don't believe in what I believe, they're okay, they're gonna go to like their heaven.
Exactly.
No, everybody's always damnation, everybody,
Yeah.
everyone's going somewhere negative. And I'm like, that's segregation, that's separation, that's discrimination. Like that's all the things that they're supposed to go against unconditional love, you
Exactly.
know?
Exactly. And
And it doesn't make sense at all.
and what's interesting is that this is mentioned in religious books that they need to be separated. Like, for example, I go back to the Old Testament in Christianity, in the Bible, and the story of the Tower of Babel. And the ideas there was that humanity was all like speaking one language, and they were all connected, and they were all thinking as one. And then that God was not happy with it, and he was like, we need to go down and destroy them, and like kind of send them across the earth so that they become separate and they become against each other. So there's some part of the truth, but it's a negative thing, and people tend to see it as a positive, which I never made sense to me. But basically, you have here a part of a truth where they're telling you there's an entity that came and decided that we need to separate humanity, and we need to actually disconnect them from one another, because when they are together and they are one, they are very powerful, and we don't want them to become powerful, and we don't want them to become one of us. He actually says man will become one of us if they do this. That idea is, this is the sort of kind of like double speak, if you want, which is mentioned in 1984. That you say something which is supposed to mean bad. Like, if I'm reading it for the first time, I was supposed to be like, but isn't that a bad thing? Why would God want to do this? But they be like, no, 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 it's actually a good thing. That's a good thing what happened. And then you start believing that's a good thing. That's the genius of this sort of prison that we're in, is that not only do they control the narrative, they control what the narrative means as well. So you look at it and you feel something is off, but then you're being told, no, this is part of it. It's actually human nature that we destroy each other. We've never had peace on earth ever since the start of civilizations, but that's who we are. That's just who we are. But it does not align with anything. Like, even forget the creator and forget the universe. Even from an evolutionary point of view, why would a species evolve on Earth, and it's within nature to destroy the Earth that's on? We're the only one that do this. We're the only species that have evolved here, and so we're supposed to believe that in our nature is to destroy nature and to destroy each other. How come no other species does that?
Yeah, never made sense to me. Never made sense to me. We share this world with mammals and reptiles and insects, birds, and none of these creatures are trying, not even thinking about destroying. There's no other creature outside of humans that is doing what they do on a natural basis
Yep.
that is harming Earth.
Exactly.
Everything is like recycled and like redone. It's all intentional, like they are part of the earth. So it always made me question, with the Anunnaki stories and the seed being planted, us, and are we from Earth? Are we the aliens?
That's where I think between history and biology, there's sort of like this clash, and they both can't answer it, if you want, because humans, in theory, we evolved on Earth, but we don't share traits that looks like a being that has evolved on Earth. We're the only species that developed consciousness. And there was, even if we're talking about billions of years of evolution on Earth, right? Why would one species only develop that? Why there wasn't consciousness a thing that has evolved in every species? I get it. Like if we're saying, yes, so there were, like let's say 65 million years ago, 125 million years ago, dinosaurs and all the beings and all the everything that existed, and then they went extinct and others came. That's all fine. Let's go with that theory of evolution. But then evolution does not explain why is it that only one species developed consciousness and not everyone. If Earth had reached a place of developing consciousness, it should have been across every species and everywhere, and it would have been in its own way. Like every species has developed consciousness and they all live. But the fact that one of us, only one out of the millions and millions of species that exist on Earth, developed that is a question mark. And on top of not just the fact that we have developed consciousness, but how we use it as well, the fact that we don't have this connection to be harmonious with our environment. We kind of take everything and exhaust all the resources where we live, and then we move to another location and then we exhaust those resources. No other animal species does that. Even on a microscopic level, they don't do that. And even if in the animal kingdom there is a sort of like it's a bit wild and one animal kills another, it's not in the purpose of evil. It's not in the purpose of, it's not like it's coming from lack or fear. It just comes from an instinctual level, and then it ends the moment it ends. Like there's no follow up to any sort of harm that is done.
There's
right?
no revenge or anything.
Exactly.
No justice. Yeah.
And no, like a lion would kill a zebra, for example, but it will not do so unless it's hungry. So it's not like out of because it's a hunting sport or because they enjoy doing it. It's just out of necessity. But we act very differently, and that's where the story that we've discussed before about the Anunnaki, that's kind of like it was the start of this shift on Earth, is when they came and they manipulated our DNA and they kind of infused it with their own part of DNA. So they needed a sort of like beings that are smart enough to handle working as in labor, but not smarter than that. So they sort of genetically modified us. And you can see it, like even humans are born early, right? Like we're not born on time. So the human baby, when they're born, we're the only species that cannot survive unless someone's taking care of us. 9 months is not enough a development for a baby to actually be born. There's a genetic mutation here. It's a mistake. Evolution does not usually do that mistake, if you know what I mean. Like we're supposed to actually be in the womb for about 12 months and not 9 months. And if that's when, you kind of give birth, and a child sort of supposed to kind of be able to take care of himself. But we don't do that. And animal kingdom, they don't have this. It's not like even if an animal is rejected from his own group, he still is able to survive. Like he will kind of go and look for food one way or another. We can't do that. So that is a mistake, is a genetic mistake that something has altered it in order for us to evolve in this way.
Wow.
So that's
great point.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say what a great point, because wow. Yeah, babies are born and they're completely helpless. Like if humanity is supposed to evolve properly, like you said, we can't just be born and be helpless. Like that's not evolution. Like we can't survive. If that means that if we didn't get any assistance, or if we don't have parents or anybody taking care of us, all the babies that are born aren't going to last no more than a couple of days
hours
or weeks,
hours even.
right?
Hours.
And that's it. And then humanity is just done with. It makes no freaking sense.
And that's where you also like question how evolution has happened. If we're talking it's completely natural and without any intervention, because if that was the case in some of the humans or some of the species of humans that existed before, then usually the weak gene dies out. That's the purpose of evolution, is to basically perfect a species so that it's always the best version of itself. That's what survives. And then the weak dies out. That's how it is. So in theory, evolution should have died out. Like that genetic of weak babies, for example, that's the one should have died out. And then the ones who are born in terms of taking care of themselves would have survived that. But this is a weakness that we have that survived, which means that there was an intervention at some point to kind of survive. It's the same idea how we sort of like, how pandas are always like on the verge of extinction, and we intervene all the time to make it survive, right? If it wasn't for humanity, okay, that species would have extincted, and not because we kind of are killing them off or whatever. It was because they can't survive. They don't have the capacity, or they're not smart enough and all that to survive. So we keep interfering, and we keep keeping them alive, and then they keep surviving. But they should have been out of the gene pool a long time ago. So this is the same thing with us. Like if we are that weak, then we should have been out of the gene pool. So it's either there's an intervention to keep us, as you're saying, so that they harvest us, or at some point, we were manipulated, and we sort of like try to, we were taught how to take care of the babies and how to do that, so that we keep bringing in children, and we keep the survival of the species, so that we keep feeding off this negative energy and this fear and this anger that we have. And these beings just keep on surviving because of us, basically.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I know, folks, you guys are listening and watching. A lot of you are just thinking about so much right now. You're like, because I know everything here that's being said, it hits some type of way, and people are,
and it could go down its own rabbit hole, by the way. Yes.
Dissect anything that's been said in the last few minutes, and just go down that path and see where that takes you. But yeah, just evolution. Our evolution is the proof of why things don't make sense. Everything in there, if you follow it, it doesn't make sense when you talk about, is it natural? But then you have science or whatever it is that talks about evolution that kind of does that like double speak, as you said, where it's like, yeah, I know, but this is what it actually means. It's wild. I want to touch base also on the fact when you're talking about kids and about how they know. I always get curious whenever I see a young child, like in their toddler or their infant age, maybe like 2 to 3 or something like that. They're grabbing everything and they're putting everything in their mouth. They're just like, there's no limitations. The world is their playground. And we as in the adults come in and tell them, don't do that. That's not how you discover things. But they're these spiritual beings that are inhabiting a new vessel container. And they're like, wow, like, what's this? Like, they're interacting with this third, density, and they're discovering there's nothing, we live in a true state of unconditional love and limitless and no boundaries. So we come here and we're trying to kind of do what we normally do. But then when we're here as kids and we're growing up, the adults are telling us what can hurt us, what we should be scared of, who we should worship, what we should follow. Don't do this and don't do that. And it starts to create this mindset, this prison, right, in your head where, hey, I do have limitations. I do have boundaries. Man, I thought I felt powerful, but maybe I'm not powerful. There's something else that's bigger than me. Oh my gosh. Like, and then you start creating all this stuff, and then you now have immersed yourself into this world.
No, it's 100%. And it also aligns with, see, when we talk about the point of life on Earth, and I'm not talking in general as creation as a whole, I'm talking just like this reality, this third dimensional reality on Earth. And when we talk about us as souls who have sort of like decided, okay, I want to go and experience existence and creation in a 3-dimensional reality on this planet in this time right now. But because I wanted to experience it, I want to come to this earth and experience everything. So that's why we are so infused with curiosity, because we want to experience everything. That was the point of us coming here, is to literally touch and feel and sense everything the way a third dimensional being does. But like you said, it's constantly being told, no, don't do that. And if you notice, it's most of the time, it's a discouraging thing. We don't encourage children to explore more. We actually, the way we tell them is that everything, but don't touch this, don't do that, don't do that. There's such much negativity around this. And that is because of the low frequency that we are constantly on. It's always fear. It's always fear. Don't do this. You're going to get hurt. You're going to do that and all that. When in reality, it should be more of an encouragement to yet discover the world. And you can always tell when, even when kids get a bit older and they're like maybe still 7 and 8 and 9, and you ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? And it's always like these grand ideas, like, I want to do this. I want to open a portal from here to here. I want to, like it's like they can feel how much powerful they are, and how imagination is so big and they can do it. But then they told, no, don't do this, and then they get to their teenage years and it's sort of like just complete empty vessel of like, I wanted to come and experience so many things, but I've been told no so many times, and I've been told that I might not make it, and I'm so limited and I cannot think on my own. And that's when sort of we go into this mundane everyday work, and we just kind of like accept that we are not powerful, and we accept that we are not okay. But it's in our nature, it's innate, that need to be powerful, to show how strong we are, and to show how, wonder and ask questions, and like, how do things work, what's happening, and all that. That's a very interesting thing that other species also do not have. That's unique to us, this need to explore and to build. But then the low frequency comes in, and we kind of like start tuning out of the high frequency that we're on, and we tune into the lower one. And that's where the idea of being builders goes away, and we just becomes workers, and we just want to fall into the system. You know what I mean? To conform becomes the goal. Like, okay, I want to be like everyone else. I want to be accepted. I want to do that. Whereas we were never thinking like this. This prayer, it starts, I forgot the name, but it starts with, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate, is that we are powerful beyond measure. Are you familiar with this prayer?
No,
It's from a book called A Course in Miracles. And I definitely invite you to read that. But there's a part of this poem, and it says that we were all meant to shine. Like when we come to earth, we're all meant to shine like children, because children have this light in them. It hasn't been extinguished yet, because they're so still very close to the source. They're still fresh. So that's the point. That's what we need to remember every time we look around, sort of like to kind of come back to the prison that we're in, and the negativity that we see all the time on the news. And there's always something bad happening, or you always need to, you're lacking something. So go buy and go consume, and you're not going to be happy unless you live in that house, or you buy that car, or you wear those things. Or if you have that money, that's fine, because here's a pandemic, and here's a war, and here's something for you to worry about. Like, this is the constant barrage of bad information that we are being fed all the time, and just keeps us at such a low frequency. And we need to talk about it. Like, the more we talk about it, that's where the battle happens. It's up here. It's in our mind. It's not in this physical world. Like, this is physical. It's gonna go away. Our bodies will die out, and our new bodies will be formed. That's nothing. It's just this constant. We need to talk about how, remind ourselves how powerful we are, and we can reach one person who was like feeling, like I feel you understand this as well, where like you might be doing like your show for years, for example, and then you get one comment from one person across the world where they go like, actually, I never thought of this like this, but thank you for saying it. And actually, and you feel like, okay, like that's the mission accomplished. Like we got to someone who was not able to maybe verbalize what they're feeling, but now they feel it as well, and they're gonna take that and they're gonna pass it along to someone else. That is this, transfer and exchange of energy that we want to have, and to spread it as much as possible. And the more we do it, the more difficult it's going to become for the majority of people to fall in this lower frequency that they keep on. And the more we fight it, the worse it's going to get. And, the battle. And it's like such a scary thing for them. No, we need to keep them in line. We need to keep them the way they are. They cannot break free from this realm that they're in.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I hear that. And, one of the most powerful things that we have is the power of our voice. When we have now, when it comes to history, we now share history through the concept of time. Like in 18, this happened, in this year at this time. But before there was time and there was schedules, our history was passed through conversation by elders, and they would use cycles. They would say, back when the great flood happened, back when the comet from this nebula came, and it became that history became more of an experience, a memory, a remembrance, versus a fact. Like, on this date, at this time, General so and so. That's why we have such a hard time, even in school, trying to remember all these dates, because they're saying, here's the narrative, learn it and repeat it. It's not the way we remember and we learn things. We learn things through feeling. Imagine you and I being with an elder tribe, and we're around a campfire and they're telling us this story. You're feeling the history in the moment.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
you're seeing the pictures,
like you're part
the
of it. Like
sky.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
you feel the energy, you feel the love, and then when, you know 20, 30, 50 years down the line, you tell that story again to those children with the same conviction, same passion that it was passed on to you, because it's an energetic transfer of memory, and that's how we do it. If I ask you, Sergio, I say, remember something that made you happy a year ago, whatever the case is. You first thing that you grab is the feeling.
Yes.
The,
Yes.
the
Yes.
feeling
Yes.
comes in
I love
first,
that.
and
Yeah.
then the memory comes in.
And most of the time, we don't even remember like the actual date. Like, if I want to talk to you about some childhood memory that I had, which was so happy, like, yeah, so I remember when I went with my family and we did this and we did that. Such a good, nice day. Or the location. I have no idea when that happened, which day of the week it was, which year it was. I'd be like, maybe I was 8 or 9, because that's never part of I love what you said, because it's actually the memories, and this information is within the event themselves. It's how we felt. And when they tell you that story, they're telling it to you with how they felt. So it gets transferred to you as well. But the way we learn it is so disconnected from our emotion. It's just like, in 1945, the war ended. In 19, this happened. It's to you, like you said, it's no longer an emotion. It's just a fact. It's just information that you have, but there is no connection to it and there is no feeling to it. Something that you said as well that triggered something I want to say, which is related to schedule, when you said about schedule. And like, you see how, like, for example, the year is split into these 12 months, and each month is like, one is 30 days, one is 31 days. One time, the 4th of the month is on a Tuesday. Now, this is all by design as well, because it's extremely ungrounding the way it happened. I recently read this, it was like, I think it was a post where you can actually divide the month to 13 months, and each one of them will have exactly 28 days, and each day will start at like, for example, a Sunday is always the first, and then the end of the month is always on that day. That is the way to actually keep track of everything in terms of like being grounded and understanding where you are. But this confusion that we have, like what day of the week it is, what's day of the month, this disconnects you from where you are. It disconnects you from the earth, from the cycles, even the cycles that you mentioned, because even the moon cycle is not per month the way we count it either. So even that is disconnect. When we look back at all our ancient like ancestors, everything was based on the cycles of the moon, because they would see it. They would see, okay, so now the moon is this shape, so that means this is what we do now. When it's like that, this is what moon. And even when it comes to like women and they, like, for example, their own cycle, it's based on the moon as well. It's not even which is like 25 days, and it's not even 30 or 31 days. So that is a disconnect that they have put as well into us, where we need to not understand where we are, and we're confused and sort of like disoriented, and it doesn't even make sense from time. Why is it like this? Why are the months the way they are? Why are we counting the days like this? It doesn't make sense.
We know why it's like that, right? So if the lunar cycle,
We know.
we know why and everything, because time and schedules were created to so we can work, so we know when to work, so we know how long to work, and that's what keeps us contained in this.
Yeah.
This is why I like, we all enjoy symbolism. I love the not I love, when I say love, I mean the container of a clock. It
Okay.
holds 12 numbers, okay?
Right. Right.
But the 13th layer, the true container of those hours, is the actual clock itself. So it's kind of like symbolic. It's everywhere, and it's saying, we know the truth. The truth is 13.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We're containing it
Containing
all
it.
within 12.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's out there. It's out there, and we see it, but we're taught to understand it differently.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also like like a constant reminder that you are contained, and that you are limited, and that there's
Yeah.
nothing for you to do. It's sort of like in your face, but also like this subliminal message that
Yeah.
everything is happening within this circle. Like it's always there.
Within right here. Yeah.
Exactly. Like your whole day is based on this. So always look at this and make sure to schedule within this. There's no, like, I don't look at it from a point of view of night and day or cycles. No, it's like now it's
Yeah.
like, oh, so we meet at this time and then we finish at that time. And
Yeah.
this is automatically putting you in this container, which it's part of everyone's life
And we
all
put
the
it on the
time.
walls, and
Yeah.
we wear it on our wrists. And you ask a person who doesn't have a clock, they're out in the woods somewhere and they're living out there, they don't ever ask what time it is.
Yeah.
They just say, "Oh, well, I have some time because there's still lights."
Yes. Yes.
Or
Exactly.
they go off of that, and
Yeah.
I mean, humanity has survived for hundreds of thousands of years before clocks.
Exactly. You remind me, because back in when I was around 12 or 13, I was in the scouts. So we would always like go camping and go, and exactly, yes, it. So we wouldn't have clocks, and we wouldn't have any sort of technology. So we'd be like, okay, let's just, they teach you how to look at it, and then you know how much time. It's literally based on the cycle of the moon and of the sun. And we are able to, like you said, we've survived hundreds of thousands of years without the concept of time and dates and all of that. It's just when we reach this stage now of this the containment and sort of like hiding the truth, altering the past, making sure that we're constantly in this state, that's when all these concepts were introduced. So you have days and month and time and clock, and make sure that you're always working within these. Don't think outside of these stuff. And yeah.
Yeah, it's wild, man. I'm gonna ask you a real side question regarding reptilians.
Mm.
I've always had this understanding, and let's see where you fall with this too. So, dinosaurs. Okay.
Okay.
I've always had this understanding that the reptilians that we talk about were those same dinosaurs, but dinosaur is a very recent term.
Sure.
You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
Before dinosaurs, everything, even in the scriptures and the Bibles, they're all referred to as dragons.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So dinosaurs is something that we created and stuff. But I believe that a lot of these dinosaurs or dragons were just reptilians when they were out and about around humanity, because there was no name.
Yeah.
There was no identifier. We didn't have science class with dinosaurs and bones. We didn't have any of that. So I believe that a lot of the dinosaur stories, or what they were, was in a time where reptilians, before they went to go hide, they were out and about with humanity, walking among them, giant tall, whatever the case is. They all look different, like all of that good stuff. So what do you think about that? Do you think reptilians were dying?
I'll add to that a bit
Yeah.
more, even when it comes to mythology itself. I mean, some people might get mad because it's still religion, but in Christianity, so in the original text of Adam and Eve, there's no mention of a snake. It's actually called the reptilian. The reptile came and spoke.
Oh.
This has been interpreted and translated to become a snake, just like there is no mention of an apple. So even now, if you open there's no apple. It's a fruit, which you don't know what it is, but it has been kind of changed and infused that it's an apple and it's a snake. But if you see it like from the original, the story of Adam and Eve from the original Mesopotamian, it was a reptilian who came and spoke to them and told them about this. So, but given that, let's say if they wouldn't have a name for it, would say that's the reptile, or that's something that looks like a snake that came and spoke to me and told me to do something. So I do agree that throughout history, and even perhaps all those millions of years ago, if they are in fact millions of years old and not closer to us, that they did exist and they were part of our culture or part of our societies. But it was much more accepted, which makes sense because at that time, no one was told these things don't exist. You know what I mean? So it's normal to kind of have them around. And even if they would talk and even if they would be part of it. And so it makes sense to me that they did exist. But when sort of like a shift happened, or perhaps like there was more interference from other species and other beings in terms of like what's the development of Earth is and what direction that took, that's when they went into hiding more, because to control something from the shadow is much easier than to control it from the light. Because from within our nature, we want to rebel, we want our freedom. That's what we're called upon because that's where we come from. So it's much easier to, instead of telling someone you are in a prison, to actually put him in a prison, but make it look so nice and beautiful and kind of like, watch from the shadows and have him be there because he will never revolt or ask for his freedom. So yes, I think that that's what most of us miss when we're talking about ancient mythologies or religions, is that when we refer to certain beings that they were reptilians, we think, oh, no, that's just symbolic, especially in ancient Egypt, for example. There's a symbol of a god with the head of a crocodile, for example, or the head of, like that with the name of body. But no, these were actually beings walking around. And at the time, they didn't need to hide. So, yeah.
Yeah. Nah, absolutely. Yeah. We have those documentaries already when we watch Star Wars and Star Trek, and all the movies are out there that show these, lizards or creatures, whatever the case is, talking to humans, and it's normal, and they're
Yeah.
at the bar and they're drinking.
Yeah.
Like, we're taught now that, oh, this is just fictional. There's no way that this could happen.
Exactly.
Oh, it did happen, but it's not happening now. Well, at least for most of us. I wanted to get your thoughts on something. Man, it's always fantastic when it goes that particular route.
Is it the difference, like when it comes to fiction and whether there's some truth to it, for example, or are they trying to tell us something? Or
It's there. Antarctica. That's what it
nice.
was. Okay. I did a live stream a couple of weeks back talking about what's on the other side of the ice wall. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
And my understanding is that I believe that there are humans on the other side of the ice wall living with all the creatures. Okay. Now, there's a wall for a reason. Okay. This wall doesn't just, this is a huge wall, this wall doesn't just come up. So my understanding is that there are some humans there that are aware of us on the other side here.
Okay. Yeah.
We humans here are just not aware of them. And I think that, and I also believe that the world is much bigger than we're told that it actually is. Okay. So with that being said, because there's a lot more continents, a lot more mass, there's a lot more land where everything lives. So if that's the case, what if the known world that we exist in, that we are aware of, is just a pocket?
Yeah.
a small pocket, right, among the actual world that has all of these different species, technology, and everything.
Mhm.
So it will lead to then saying, well, why are we just pocketed in one spot? I think everything is intentional. There's a purpose for everything. And I think that I don't know exactly why, but I believe that the reason that some of us that live on this side of the wall aren't aware of everything else is for a reason. Now,
Mhm.
I also have this understanding that we may be just inhabiting an avatar on this side, but you and I could possibly be actually on the other side of the wall
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
having this experience,
Yeah.
because I think that this side of the wall is more intense. It's more, there's more physicality in here. So if we are enlightened or higher, maybe not so high, still human though, but an aware, more consciously aware human on the other side, which is probably what you and I are on the other side of the wall, we are choosing to come here, not from a higher dimension,
Right.
not from a different portal, but from the same plane of existence, just on the other side of a wall. So I threw a lot out there for you. What do you think about all that?
I like this idea a lot, actually. I would maybe take it a bit more into not on a physical level in terms of like which side of the wall there is, but I would completely like subscribe to the idea that yes, there is definitely like a blockade, like a sort of like a dome thing, but I see it as a more of an energetic dome than an actual physical one. So because that's how you kind of you are able to control certain things, or what keeps you from doing things. And the entire avatar theory of actually coming to this side, I would see it as well, and this does align with some of the knowledge that you feel you already know from before, and even like for example, you're here, and then we're talking about something, and you might say something that triggers something in me. I feel like this is something that I feel like I know, even though I never really heard it before. But I have not heard it before in this physical self. You know what I mean? But it's something that I have brought with me as well. So that's what I feel, and it could be sort of like a form of maybe liberation, or sort or kind of like trying to affect an outcome, because you come from a specific place that has more knowledge, and you sort of you kind of like, I want to go in and I want to see if I can help. But the problem is that help has to come from within. We cannot do anything from the outside. It has to come from within, because the within is where it's gonna change that frequency and kind of like wake up and understand what's going on. So you come in and try to influence as much as possible. And that's the job, basically. You know, that's the role that we resonate with the most, because you sort of feel like I want to as many people to know this as possible, and not for the sake of fame or for the sake of money or for the sake. It's just kind of it satisfies a fulfillment in you, right? And I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense, because like if you bring that knowledge from the other side, then you know that there are much more meaningful things than, you know, like fame or whatever, and you sort of you're called upon it. That's what we can call say like, yeah, I've been called upon this to do this thing. There's an attraction, you know, to kind of talk about this, and being exposed to certain things. It's like at certain junctions of your life where you get certain hints and triggers, and you go like, okay, now I feel like I'm being called into this, or I'm being called to read that book, or I'm being called to listen to that person talk. And you feel like, okay, wow, this is actually something that I know that's there. It resonates with me. So yeah, I love that idea.
Yeah, yeah. There's this knowing, you know,
Yes.
that when a knowing happens, we don't question it. We don't say
Yes.
like, we just know. We just like say, you know what? I don't know why I like this or why I'm attracted to this. I just am.
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
am.
and it's like you stop caring how people see it. Like
Yeah.
you don't care if they think you're crazy or you're not, because it's so embedded in you. Like it's
True.
so true inside of you that you just talk about it, and whoever is gonna pick it up is gonna pick it up. But I have no desire to make people believe what I'm saying, or if they don't believe, it's gonna make me feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be. No, it's just like it's inside, like it just is. It just
Yeah.
is. That's it.
Yeah. And I've always had this understanding of people have asked that question, like, how do I escape the matrix, right? And everyone, we're taught to look for what we think an exit is. An exit looks like outwards. It's got to go
Yes,
this way. But you and I both understand that for this game, they hid the key inside.
inside. Yep,
So
yep,
you gotta go inward
yeah.
to go outward.
Outward, exactly, exactly. Yeah, and this also aligns with. I don't know if maybe you spoke about near death experiences before or not, but
Maybe.
this to me was a topic that is very, very interesting for like a couple of years. And I've read so much about it. And I've interviewed people who had near death experiences. And it also aligns as well, which is so interesting because almost everyone talks about the same thing, which is when they kind of left their body and then they go to this very familiar place. Like it's like they know where they're going and they get to a place that is built completely different and it's all made of love and it's familiar and everyone who's there they know, but then they're told you still have work to do, so you're going to go back. And they come back with conviction because they know that the work is not yet done. And then when they wake up in their physical body, they talk about it and it feels like there's a huge shift within them, like they sort of accept things in a different way than they did before. Some people have told me that, I used to fear death, but I no longer do because I know where I'm going. And others talk about how they feel like they need to contribute to one person's life or several people or do something on a grand scale or whatever. But it's sort of like this exiting of the avatar, like they kind of like leaving this avatar behind. And when you do that, you sort of remember everything that you had before you came. So you go like, all right, I actually do have a mission and I actually have a purpose. So I'm going to go back and continue because in this lifetime, that mission is not yet over. So
Yeah.
it does still align with everything you see. And people who have experienced it and these documents, like so many people talk about this. I invite you, if you have not delve deep into near-death experiences, it's an insane world and a rabbit hole to go down to. It's so beautiful because it also aligns with everything that we're saying. Like these are people who did come back and did say the same thing, and they all say the same thing. They all tell the same story. So it's a very interesting take on that.
Yeah. No, I love listening to near death experiences too. And a lot of people, they all kind of come back with the same key ingredient, which is something that I talk about on this show as well, which is love.
Yeah, yeah,
Love,
yeah,
love, love,
yeah.
unconditional love. Like I don't know if they're hearing each other talk about it. I don't know if that's
No,
what
trust
they're
me. I've
experiencing.
spoken with this woman who was around 70 at the time, and she is completely like she's not online. She doesn't like she comes from a very old age, and she told me the same thing. And like when I was sitting and listening to her, it's like I got goosebumps because there's no way this woman was actually reading things online or going to YouTube. She's extremely old, and she would say the same thing. Like I felt like I saw, like I hovered over my body and I saw, all the doctors, trying to work on me and everything. She was declared, she was actually dead for 20 minutes before she came back. So like it was a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And she said, like, I felt this weightlessness, like there was nothing, like all the worries that I had were just like completely gone. And I'm like, why are these people like trying to bring me back to life? Like it's fine, like it's okay. And then she went to a place where she said it was all white and golden, and it's like it was built out of love. You know what I mean? Like, and she would say, the what I'm ascribing to you now, there are no words for it. Like there is no actual words for me to tell you what I went through. So I'm using words that are the closest thing possible, but I can't really describe what I felt when I went there. I just felt so much love and so much acceptance. And it's like I was going home. And she said, while I was leaving my body, I know where I'm going. It's like I knew where I'm going because that's knowledge that she had from before she came in. So she just remembered it. And she said that she felt like this hand on her. And once the hand came in, she understood, like there was no words, but it's all like telepathic. And she said like she heard that someone's telling her, you still have work to do. It's not time yet. And she sort of went all the way back to her body. And again, she's talking with so much conviction. She doesn't care if anyone believes her or not. It's like, this is the truth. That's the truth. That's it.
True.
So yeah.
Yeah. No. I love those stories, and I compare it to like wearing a virtual reality headset.
Yeah.
Right. So imagine you and me and like everybody that's listening here. We're in one room and we all have these headsets, and there's operators outside. These are our spirit guides, our, whatever, right? They're out there monitoring and make sure that, whatever, that we're good. But we're inside this virtual reality for days.
Yeah.
To where we forget. We forget that we, have a body or whatever the case is. And we're these avatars, and we're in here and we're scared about what's going to happen inside this game, this world. And then for a moment, you get a glitch. Well, yeah, you get it too. But let's say you get a glitch. You're still locked in, but you get glitched.
Right.
And then you get a glimpse of the outside.
Yeah.
And you're like, just for a moment, and then you come back. Now you have this awakening within the game, because you're like, wait a minute, I remember there's something else, right? But to what you were just showing here, same thing. If you just take it off and you're done. Let's say you're playing the game and you die, like we do here.
Right.
Now you take it off. Now you're like, well, that was fun.
This is the reality. All right, I remember it, just like how I left it, basically. Yeah.
Exactly. So like from the micro to the macro, from the macro to the micro, it's all the same thing. We think that we're creating new things. All we're doing is repeating what's already been created, or at least a version of it. Like we're doing that right now with AI, right? We're creating in hopes to create these sentient beings. People don't want to say, I'm not trying to create anything sentient. Yeah, you are. Because if you're creating a neural network, well, guess what? We have a neural network too. So why would you be creating, why would you even give it the name to be a neural network? And all of this open source AI and things like that, all it's doing is collecting information, so that way it can get smarter, right? It's free information. It's open source. Everybody can use it. It's free. And then once it collects enough intelligence, now we start putting that intelligence into automation. Yeah. And then now these automated, things start to live, start to make decisions, and then they create something else.
Yeah.
And then it keeps going. So yeah, it's just,
this is what's it called, the simulation theory, which is like it's a whole different thing about like the more we're closer to creating a virtual world, the more it is likely that we are in one. Because that's a very long conversation, maybe another time. But it's basically the same thing. And what you said about that glitch that you have, let's say when you have your headset on, and because you were in your virtual world and you experienced the glitch, you know that it's a real thing. So that's why you feel like empowered with that truth, and you no longer question it, because there's a part of you that actually realized that was the truth to it. And it's not like you're not questioning it, or like you go, it's not real or something. It's truth. That's it. No one can convince me otherwise.
Yeah. Truth. And I think there was somebody that had a quote. It was so beautiful. I'm really bad with quotes, but they said something about the truth can withstand so many questions, but a lie can't at all.
Yeah. So I like that.
So if something is true, you can ask it questions to infinity, and you'll always have an answer for it, because it's the truth.
Because it's the truth. Yes.
But if it's a lie, it comes to a certain point where it starts to crumble.
It starts to crumble, and you have to change it, and you change the original story or change the lie to fit the new questions. Yes.
And that's why when you said earlier about once you know the truth, innately just something in us has to speak about it.
Yes.
How many, and that made me think, anytime someone learns the truth, right, they're immediately wanting to just share it.
Yeah.
How many people share lies? but like immediately. Like
That's true. That's true.
it
Yes,
becomes
that's a good.
something that's either like kind of forced or I might have to, but it's not like with your heart, you know?
Yeah. And
You
it's
know?
it's
So
sort of like when you're sharing a lie, there's a purpose behind it, which is usually not a good thing, right? So you wanna drive a specific narrative, or you wanna get power over something, or you wanna change the reality of something else. So that's when you start, and they say like, okay, we need to come up with the lie, right? Like come up with the story. So we make sure it's covered on all angles and there's no holes in it and stuff like that. Whereas when you have a truth that you feel it, you're immediately sharing it because there is no holes to it. So you don't need to actually like corroborate the story or try to find to make sure that it's not like, oh, there's going to be questions here or so. No, no, this is the truth. I'm just going to immediately say it to you and, like hope you accept it. But there is no intent, there's no ill intention behind it other than just sharing it. No other thing. I want to share this truth and that's it.
yeah, lies have weight.
Oh,
When
yeah.
you carry it for a while, it feels really bad, but
And your body rejects it as well.
and your
Like,
body rejects it.
because
Yeah,
it's not within our nature to be liars or to actually tell something that's not true. Like I've watched a lot of body language videos about when people are in court or like
yeah,
testimony or something, and you can see like these small like hints, like for example like they would like scratch something like
yeah,
this or do something on the nose, or even the eye will twitch, or
yeah,
the way they look. It's because lie is not something within us, it's not a natural thing, so our body rejects it even if our mind wants to keep it going. You can't fight what is natural, whereas when the truth is just completely like you just accept it and you just say it out loud, and there's nothing within you that is rejecting that truth.
yeah. You're right. Your body, like in core and stuff, body gets really tense and whatever. But when you're telling the truth, you sit back,
Yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
relax, you talk. There's a calm tone to it
yeah.
because it's
Because
yeah,
it's in your nature to tell the
it's in
truth.
nature.
That's the nature. That's the natural state of being, is to tell the truth. Whereas when a lie is introduced or something negative, your body rejects it. That's why, like, even when they talk about, like, let's say there's a murder or something, and they talk, but his heart rate grew like so high when he was committing the murder. It's because it's unnatural to do something
Yeah,
like this. Like, you should not experience it, and your body rejects as well. Like, your physical body is rejecting what your soul was never intended to do. Like it's not within its nature.
yeah. Man, Sergio, we're gonna need to do more of these because we have a lot of different topics to
Yeah,
talk about. I'm glad that you're back able to do this. Thanks for reaching out as well, man,
sure.
because sometimes you just got to get certain things out and I when if you have some thoughts, come on the show, man. Let's talk
Yeah,
about
yeah,
this.
sure.
I want to wrap things up, folks. Sergio, I want to go ahead and ask you my end of episode questions that I ask everybody. I've asked you these 2 years ago, but
Yeah,
it's 2 years later. So let's see if they're the same, or you probably forgot them, or maybe they
forgot.
sound a little different.
Yeah,
Well, then even better,
yeah.
then I like to hear. So my first question to you is, what do you think, from your understanding, what do you think the ultimate purpose of this life is?
I think the ultimate purpose is to help each other remember, and to bring the next level of consciousness. Like I think on this layer of reality, I think that's the purpose. I'm not talking everything in terms of creation or anything. I'm talking right now on Earth in the three-dimensional. I think the purpose is to remind ourselves of what we really are. That to me is the ultimate goal and purpose.
In your understanding today, what's love?
Hmm. I think love is the fabric in which everything is created. I think creation cannot happen without love. Love is the material that creates, that you're able to create from. I think it's love, because everything is within love. When you create new life in this reality, it's through love. And when you create something as big as reality itself, it's through love as well. So I think that's the kind of like the fabric of our reality.
Yeah. In your current understanding, what is God?
I would say I have an issue with the word God because it has been biblically stolen and hijacked. So when I hear God, I think of the very limited understanding that we have of everything related to the universe. But if you're asking about as a creator, then I would say it is the divine consciousness. That's the highest point of consciousness that exists. It's the creator. I always want to refer to it as a creator and not as God. And that to me is it's that divine consciousness.
If you could go back to young Sergio, what would you tell him today?
Well, yeah, that today is going to be a good answer, actually, because given where I am in life now, and I would say, like, you're going to get so many more things than you ever thought you were going to get. It's going to be okay. Like, don't change anything. I don't have regrets. Don't change the way you think. Just keep the path, and eventually you will get more than you ever thought you were ever going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. And if my audience would like to see more of you or follow you or contribute and assist in what you're doing, how can they reach you?
I have my Instagram page and my podcast, which sadly have not been very active, but I will try to go back when things get better around me.
Yeah.
So it's a Paradigm Shift with Sergio Halaby. It's a podcast. It's also on Instagram as well. So if you search for that, you will find me and you can connect with me anytime. I love it when people talk to me, and I love just questions and we just communicate and all that. So yeah.
Absolutely. And folks, definitely, even though like Sergio say, if he hasn't been as active on his podcast, go check out what he has already because he's a wealth of knowledge. He is what I consider a good friend, and also he definitely has a beautiful perspective, you know, mentally, spiritually, physically about what this reality is and where we come from, and more importantly, the remembrance part to all of this. So definitely go there, check him out, subscribe to his channel if you haven't done so already, and uh, and just continue to support him. Sergio, I had a ball as always. I always have fun speaking with you. I'm glad that you and your family are safe, and
Thank you.
I am sending you an abundance of positive energy your way as well as my intentional protection on you and your family, specifically to just continue to live and prosper and thrive and love and enjoy this experience that we're all having. Okay. And I will be looking forward to our next episode. Okay.
Same, man. Same. It's always amazing talking to you. Like I really enjoy it a lot, and thank you for all the positive stuff, and especially in this time. Like I do appreciate everything, and I receive it. Hopefully, still, one day if I ever go to the States,
Yeah.
we'll meet up.
Absolutely.
I'll maybe
Absolutely.
come with my wife as well. So
Yes.
that would
Yeah,
be
absolutely. Take a trip down here. I'm in the Florida area, so Florida here we have Disney and all that fun stuff. Yeah, so just come.
I'll tell
Yeah,
her we're going to Disney, then I'll pass by you.
yeah. I'm only an hour away.
That's awesome. Okay, okay.
Even better. Even better.
Yeah, exactly.
Sergio, is there any last words that you'd like to tell the audience before we close out?
Yeah, just basically. So I say this all the time, even in my own podcasts, is to like listen to what we say, but also you go and do your own research. Like, don't just receive information for receiving it. It's always better to, even if you feel like this is a new topic that you've not heard before or a new idea that came to you, if you feel like it's an interesting one, go ahead and do your own research, read books, hear podcasts, watch channels about the same topic, and then you make up your own mind. As long as it's something that you've delved deep into and you've reached the conclusion yourselves, that's all that you guys need. Instead of just receiving this information, even if this information, what we are saying now, goes against what we are being taught, also question this and then reach your own conclusion, because that's the best way to actually break free from what we have and to make up your own mind and believe in it truthfully instead of doubting it and then wanting to question it even more. So yeah, just do the research as always, because we're here because we did our own research, and I think Caesar will agree with that as well.
I do. I absolutely do. Well said. And folks, as a friendly reminder, don't just absorb the content. If you enjoy this episode, if you enjoy my channel, if you enjoy these conversations, please like, subscribe to the channel. If you want to go a step further, become a channel paid member as well. Your support helps continue this podcast, as well as hopefully one day I can do this full time and just focus just on podcasting and talk to these amazing souls. So yeah, like, subscribe, and share it. I know you all know one person that would enjoy this conversation that we had today. Just send it over there and continue on with your day. I would appreciate that. And with that being said, folks, as a reminder, as always, I love you, I see you, I hear you, I am you. Continue to ask questions. Don't be afraid to pull back the curtain. Push forward, always reaching beyond the frequencies.